A viewer named Nick wrote in with what I thought was a highly compelling question. That is it easier to go full Stallman or full Ballmer? I almost said full Ballman, but full Ballmer, right? So the idea here is simple. Going full Stallman means to live life to the extreme version of what Richard Stallman believes in, what he stands for, what he says, right? Only free software. Take that to its extreme conclusion, and anything that touches your life, the food, the travel, anything, cannot be using proprietary software. Now, that's an extreme version of what Stallman actually thinks, but go full Stallman. If you're gonna go big, right? That's full Stallman, and that's hard to do. I think I did a video somewhat recently where I talked about the fact that nobody really goes full Stallman. I mean, that's just not something people do. But is it easier to go full Ballmer? And Ballmer is notorious for saying how much he hates things like Linux. He hates open source. It is a cancer. So going full Ballmer would be no free software, no open source, none. All of it cut out. You don't touch it for your food, your computers, nothing, right? No open source, no free software. And as I was thinking that through, I realized that it's pretty much impossible to go full Ballmer. Like totally and completely impossible. There's open source or free software like in everything. There's quite a lot of open source in Windows, stuff that Microsoft has even made, like OpenSSL. OpenSSL is in Windows. Are you gonna have no OpenSSL in Windows? No SSL? No, that'd be crazy. Of course they're gonna include that. There's a whole bunch of open source stuff in this. You gotta yank that out. You just got to pull that out. Now, assuming being full Ballmer means you're okay with open standards, well, then all you got to do is re-implement everything. So that's just for Windows, right? Let's say this was back when Ballmer had control of Microsoft, so he could make these calls. Well, then he could do that. But for you and me, if we don't have the ability to go down to the company that makes the product and say, hey, rip out all the open source and replace it with in-house developed bits and pieces, then we're not going to be able to pull this off. We're not going to be able to use any computer system that I'm aware of. Every computer system that I know of has some MIT or Apache or BSD or something licensed code in it. Some code that we would classify as open in some way. I mean, even going back, geez, actually, that might not be true. There might be some older computers you could use. I'm trying to think. Does the Trash 80s? So the Trash 80s have an operating system that was developed by Microsoft. It's a very simple Microsoft Basic with a simple UI that goes with it, like for the Model 100 I got back there. I don't know that there's anything open source in that. I mean, technically all of the applications that run on it, well, not all, but any applications you're going to run on one of those computers is typed in by hand in BASIC. So in that sense, they're open source because you maybe got it out of a magazine or something. But let's say for the sake of this argument, you're okay with doing that. Because if you're not okay with doing that, man, I don't know what operating system you could go to. Just DOS. I wonder if Microsoft DOS or IBM DOS or any of that has, or DR DOS has any licensed open source components to it. Because we know modern Windows sure does. I wonder about Windows 3.1 actually. There's got to be systems out there that are usable. But man, no modern systems. You're not going to use a Mac. You're not going to use Windows. You're not going to use Linux. That's for sure, because you hate it and it's cancer. You're not going to connect to the internet at all because the internet just doesn't run on much in the way of closed source stuff. I mean, there's some switches and various things like that are some hypervisors here and there that are closed source. But, for the most part, there's just no way to get from here to a server halfway across the world without going through some open source or free software system, right? So internet is straight out, and anything that involves the internet is straight out, which pretty much means travel in the food industry is straight out. You got to go live. You got to get a computer and go live in a hut somewhere. But that computer only can run, I don't know, maybe maybe some very specific old operating system that didn't have any licensed bits to it. That it seems significantly harder to me in this day and age to go full Ballmer than to go full Stallman. And I think that's kind of cool. I mean, it's still darn near impossible to be full Stallman. That's hard, but you can do it. It's theoretically doable. I just don't think it's doable to be full Ballmer anymore. Wow. Well, that's cool. That's cool. Also, I'm a little sleepy right now. So, anyway, this is kind of an interesting thought experiment. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. Which one would you rather do? If you had to go to the extreme, would you go full Stallman or full Ballmer? No compromises. No ifs, ands, or buts. No, I do it buts. No. Full on. I'd have to go full Stallman over going full Ballmer. I mean, I just have to. Being as either way, I'm going to need to live in a yurt. Unless that yurt was produced using either open or closed source code, oh man, that's just going to mess with my head. Since I have to do that anyway, it's going to be difficult. I might as well go full Stallman and have a little bit more options. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. It's a cool idea. And it's brought to you in part by those lovable nerds over at Purism who make laptops filled with free software. This is glorious stuff. And they're working on a phone too, which is rad. And it comes preloaded with a Linux-based operating system, PureOS, that is Free Software Foundation approved. They approved it. They don't approve nothing. Free Software Foundation, man, they don't need to approve of anything. They just be like, no, we're not going to approve of that. Like, they don't have to. That's why I love the Free Software Foundation. They're like, no, we're going to approve it if it's like full on, fully freedom loving. And PureOS is, and that's pretty rad. Anyway, going over to the website, puri.sm, check out their laptops, check out all the stuff they got going. It's rad. Anyway, that's all I got for today. I'm right now we're in baby watch here, so this is a little behind the scenes thing. We're in the final days before Lunduk Kid number 3 appears into the world, and boy am I excited, and I am already tired, which I better get in a couple of naps before now and then, because I don't know if any of you well, I know a lot of you have kids. You have kids, you know, the next couple of days are not going to be a whole lot of sleep for me. And then the next couple of weeks and months after that, not a whole lot of sleep either. So I better enjoy it while I can. And I'm already tired, which is ridiculous. All right, I'm going to go head off and get my kiddos off to bed, actually, here. I got this question a few minutes ago, and I'm like, dude, that's a great question. I gotta think about this a little bit. Anyway, talk to you guys later. What am I clicking on here? I'm clicking on this. That's the thing I'm clicking on. Holy heavens, Brian. Stop recording.